Autumn is in full swing, and that means that before we know it, winter's coming, and everything's gonna be buried in snow. At least that's what I was planning to say before it started snowing this week. Gotta love it. I like snow, but sadly it does mean that we'll be driving the cars less and less. And while that might seem like a bad thing on the surface, it's actually kind of the perfect time to start yet another big project. After all, the TT's turbo kit is fairly sorted out now. So rather than that being the focus, it's more of something that we're going to maintain and upgrade as we go, which means it's no longer a big end goal we're working towards. The S4, however, well, that's a different story. You might remember the last time we talked about the car, I had made some plans. Namely, the big goal on my mind is upgrading this car's turbo system, and that plan has been set in motion. But before we do that, there's a number of things I want to upgrade first, the primary of which being the brakes. The car needs to stop as well as it goes in my mind, which is why I've already bought our upgrades. The only thing is, those calipers that I bought for this car are gonna take a little bit to get here. And the reason why is gonna make a lot of sense once they actually show up. And if we're gonna have some nice calipers, I can't stand the idea of looking at them behind these grubby, chipped wheels. They're not bad and they're functional, but they are bonus wheels that I tossed on to fix an issue when I first bought the car. So I've always been planning to swap them out. And recently I thought I'd used all my local part luck on an E30 purchase. But thankfully, I was wrong. Just a couple days ago, we bought stuff for this car, the E30, in the S4 slightly out of town. Well, now I found a deal for parts for the S4, and we're gonna go get them in the E30. Why not? I drove the E30 about 30 minutes up north in the hopes to look at a set of wheels for the S4. And I got there a little bit early so that I could make some space in the car on the off chance that I liked them enough to buy them.
Yeah, you realize that you're supposed to have year and month right here on the vehicle?
To collect the car.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, have a good day. Don't have to do that. Don't have to do that.
And after the comical interaction with the sheriff, I saw the wheels, liked them enough to buy them, and made a deal. And these are just in a random box.
They're not ESRs, but they are 18s.
The S4 is actually going up in wheel size. Now, I am absolutely not a stickler for cars needing large wheels, but I definitely think the 17s look a little small on the S4 in the wheel well, so we're moving up. But because of that, I also had to buy some brand new tires for the car, since the current ones would not fit. Now, it would have been pretty sweet to buy 8 tires for the car in total, a dedicated set for summer and the equal for winter. Sadly, just a bit out of the budget. So what I went with was the best of both worlds. The same ultra performance all season that I already have on the car, the Continental DWS 06 Plus. And as an added bonus, I already know that the S4 does really well in winter with this exact tire, because it did last year. So really, even though dedicated snow tires would be better, I think we'll get along just fine in these. Plus, the other cars will have snow tires anyways. And if you're curious, the tires are also slightly wider than what I'm running on the 17s. These are 235/40 18s, and I think they're gonna look really good, and from what I'm reading online, they should clear just fine. These wheels are the ideal size and spec for my car. It's an expensive brand, and I got them for only a couple $100. And the reason they're so cheap? They're powder coated the wrong color. These are Rotiform TMBs, 18 by 8.5 ET35. They are a chunky directional 5-spoke and I love them, but they're not going on as is.
Now, nothing against purple wheels in general. I think they can look great on certain cars. I just don't think they're going to be the best for this specific application.
So in other words, we need to change the color of these, and there's a number of ways you can do that. You could do it yourself, but in this case, these wheels are just a little too nice for me to risk ruining them practicing things for the first time. So instead, how about we shop local? Someday, I would absolutely love to have a powder coating setup, but I don't have space for an additional oven, and I'm not going to throw that in one that I cook with. And I also like small business, so it's actually going to work out quite well. I somehow managed to squeeze 4 wheels and 4 tires into the E30 of all cars. I tried the TT, and they definitely wouldn't fit. But somehow, the interior of the E30 is an absolute cavern. So even though it looks like a clown car, this is as functional as I could possibly ask for, and I'm stoked. All we have to do now is make our way over to the wheelman. They're going to powder coat the wheels a more appropriate color, and they're even going to mount and balance the new tires. So in all honesty, it's a win-win.
Got the wheels dropped off. Best case, we come get them this afternoon. Worst case, we come get them Monday morning. Should be pretty easy.
And it turns out that powder coat was going to take quite a while to strip. So while we were waiting, we had to figure out a way to keep ourselves occupied.
In other words, we need to come up with another S4 project. So how about something we've been waiting on for way, way too long? When I bought this car, it had 1 working window. Currently, it has 3, but that means there's 1 more we still need to fix. And after the parts needed were in shipping limbo for who knows how long, we finally have them in hand, and we can fix the final window. And to figure out what the actual issue is, we need to get the door apart, which on these cars is very simple.
And thankfully, this window was exactly the same process as the other ones.
Immediately after pulling the door card, we can see an oh-so-familiar problem, a destroyed regulator. And thankfully, we've already done 2 of these, so the process is familiar. Take the door out, drill the old one out, and then slap the new one in. And it really is just that simple. Though in this case, the previous owner tried to fix this window, so some bolts just aren't tight. But don't worry, we'll get that all sorted out. Here you can see the mangled regulator. This little cable is not supposed to be kinked and or off of its pulley, so it's got to be replaced. You'll also notice that the motor itself is hand tight, and I'm pretty sure that is what the previous owner swapped in an attempt to fix the window. At least that would make a good deal of sense. And a quick recap of how we actually swap a regulator, it's rather simple. First things first, we need to get the regulator off. Ignoring that this regulator is actively falling apart, once you get the window out, to remove the original regulator, what you have to do is drill out all of the rivets that hold it in place. I absolutely wish they used bolts, trust me, I know. But so long as you have a bit of patience and a cheap rivet gun, you'll be just fine. And once we get the window installed back into the door and the door reassembled, we can plug in the motor and start testing it. Actually, that's only a half-truth. I found this out last time, but these cars are kind of finicky electrically. So in order to test the window, we also need to plug in the window switch on the door card. With it installed though, we can see that the windows are now working, and we can reassemble the rest of the door.
And with that, the S4 has 4 working windows, just in time for the weather to be too cold to actually want to use them. Go figure.
The S4 wheels are currently done, so we have to go pick them up and put them on the car. Proper wheels on the S4 have been a long time coming. The car is definitely far enough in the build process where it deserves them. Plus, I was able to find these at an absolute steal. A couple $100 for Rotiforms is not super common. And including the price to have these powder coated, I'm into these wheels about 1/3 of the price as it would cost to get them new.
We're here, time to pick them up. These turned out so sick, and I am stoked to see them on the car.
And naturally, anytime you get new wheels and tires for your car, you want to put them on as soon as possible, even if it's starting to get dark and the sun is setting. That's kind of just part of life. But before we go ahead and toss them on the car, you're probably wondering what color I went with. And I went with silver. This and black are actually the 2 colors that these wheels came in from the factory, and I think silver is going to look the best on this car. These wheels have a ton of depth, and I think you'd lose that with black. I like that they almost have a second lip behind the spokes, and my favorite part about the wheels that are currently on the S4 is the fact that they're silver. There's something about the contrast between the silver and the green of the car that I absolutely love, so we're gonna keep it here. And since they're aftermarket wheels, we're going to use 60-degree conical bolts. Definitely a must for installing these. And as I lower the car, let me just warn you, these wheels currently poke. But I knew that was going to happen. This car is running massive spacers to clear the front calipers, but those spacers were sized for the previous wheels. So the current plan is to get these wheels on the car so that I can measure the proper spacers with these wheels. That way our fitment is all nice and pretty. For now though, they're gonna poke just a little bit, but it won't be for long, so I'm not too worried about it. While I was putting these wheels on, I couldn't help but thinking about how satisfying small modifications like this are. We've been spending a lot of time designing a turbo kit, and that mindset is not at all simple. This, however, is. Not everything you do to your car needs to be overcomplicated or over the top. Sometimes you'll get just as much enjoyment out of doing something small that you know will make a big difference. And at the end of the day, it's all about what makes you happy, not about how what you do compares to others. And the small steps absolutely add up to making the car what it is at the end. So they're always worth it. I finished torquing all 4 wheels and I stood up. I took a step back and finally got to see my car how I always wanted to see it, wearing wheels that weren't stolen from my old A4. And these new ones, they look absolutely stunning. And some people might say that new wheels would have been better for the car. But honestly, the story behind these wheels echoes the story of the car itself. In other words, I think they're perfect. And I absolutely think that these wheels were a tremendous step in the right direction. One big check on the checklist that is this car. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. That's the best way you can help support me and my content. I'll see you guys like normal in the next episode, but I do want to say that there is a special episode coming out in the next couple days, and it's Halloween related, so get excited. Either way, thank you again, have a wonderful day.